So now what? You gonna chop me up into tiny pieces?
I'd rather not. Please tell me your name.
You're so full of shit.
On the contrary, I've been quite honest with you. Now I think it's your turn. It's the only way I'm going to be able to convince the others.
Convince them of what?
That you can come around. You have heart. You're loyal. And you're special.
Oh.
You stupid little girl. You are making it very difficult to keep you alive. What am I supposed to tell the others now?
Ellie.
What?
Tell them that Ellie is the little girl that broke your fucking finger!
Hello, and welcome to the video game podcast PlayStation Pals. We are on episode 39, and I am your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the James to my David, John. John, you did it.
I did?
Yeah.
What did I
do? You passed my deadline for you getting a PSVR 2.
Yeah. Are you proud of me?
It's been over 2 weeks.
Are you proud of me?
I am.
Are you more proud or are you more concerned?
Concerned with Sony?
No, about my well-being.
Oh. No, I didn't go that far. Okay. I'm proud of you because, yeah, you resisted, but I'm also kind of bummed because if Sony couldn't get you on board,
yeah,
they kind of dropped the ball.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, yes, you're definitely right. I would say a large portion of my lack of buying it now is just the position of my life, at this point. If this was I don't know, even 2 years ago, I would have had this easily. Mm-hmm. I would have moved some funds around, returned some extra cans maybe to to pinch some pennies and get this thing. But and it's also nice. Like I do have a couple buddies that have it, like we said on the show, but I haven't had a chance to go over there and hang out with them yet to check it out. But
that's true. I
don't know. The big test, Nick, will be is if we get an Astrobot announcement or Half-Life Alyx announcement. Those will be the two that I don't think I'd be able to I'd have to choose Astrobot over my children at that point is basically what I'm trying to get at. So
yeah, I mean those are the games we keep bringing up, but they're not announced, and even if they were, they're probably not till the fall anyway. So
what are you doing, Jim Ryan? Come on.
Oh, they're having a showcase sometime between now and June. All right.
Yeah, that's true. That's where Astrobot will be.
Yeah,
Calling it now.
So yeah. So if you place your bets on 2 weeks, John, you beat it.
Continue to underestimate me.
We'll have it by next week.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so let's move on into the show. This is how it works. We each bring 3 things to talk about for a total of 6 things. It can be a news item, a topic, a Reddit thread, an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com, a Twitter DM at PSPalsPod. Any of those things, we bring it and we talk about it. It's pretty much an open format except for those 6 things. And John is going to kick things off. What are you bringing first, John?
So yesterday, Nick, we were treated by one of our favorite publishers out there right now, I think, with Capcom's Spotlight event. And this is just a little shorter style direct that they like to do every once in a while to kind of put out some pieces of information, things that aren't going to be, tentpole announcements for them, but just to kind of maybe give a little bit of updates on projects that they have in the work and get the info out to the people. So, just want to go through, the things that were announced, kind of get our overall thoughts about the event itself, and that's about it. So, started off the show, commenced with showing us the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, which we did know about previously, so it's not a brand new announcement, but they just kind of showed off a lot of the specifics about it. It does include all 10 mainline entries in the Game Boy Advance Tactical Strategy game. First one was released back in 2001, which I couldn't really believe, because did you ever play these games, Nick? The Legacy Battle Collection or the Battle Collection, Battle Network games?
I may have touched a demo here or there, but I had no interest.
Never played them, never heard of them until recently. So the fact that they squeezed 10 games in a pretty short amount of time is pretty impressive. But so that is coming on April 14th to Switch, PlayStation 4, and Windows. And they will be splitting that up into 2 volumes, similarly to the Mega Man and Mega Man X collections that we've got in the past. I think there's 5 games a piece on those as well. Next, we got a small Street Fighter 6 announcement. It's not a character, Nick. It's not a level. It's not really anything that I care about. But we got a new announcer, I guess. So, revealed its 4th and final in-match commentator, and this is Japanese actress Hikaru Takahashi. And then so this rounds it out, and we got 2 Japanese announcers and 2 English announcers. So kind of, whatever, but they did make a pretty good point to kind of say how it's going to be in-game commentary, which is cool. Like if you're doing an uppercut and he says, and he throws an uppercut, like that's kind of cool. So look forward to that. That does come out on June 2nd. Next year, Nick, we got the game that I think nobody's excited for, but everybody's curious about, and that is Exoprimal. They showed this off last year, I believe. This is the game where dinosaurs fall from the sky. I think if you saw this trailer, that can immediately place this into your brain. But this time we got a little bit more showing from it. We got some story scenes and just a lot of the little details, like I said earlier. But this game is going to be coming on July 14th, coming to all major platforms except for Switch. Will be on Xbox Game Pass day 1. But probably the most exciting thing, at least for us, is that there will be a 2-day open beta test starting on March 17th. Because that's, I think, the only way this game has a shot in a prayer, is it needs to get in people's hands, to kind of see if it's something for us. But Nick, are you excited for Exoprimal? No,
it has to be amazing. And as we just saw with Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, is like you can't throw all these live service elements in here anymore. Like everyone's kind of turned off on them, or invested in another one. The Fortnites, Apex Legends, the billion other ones that are out there. That I know these development decisions are made, probably 3 to 4 years ago when they were hot. Not so hot anymore. So unless this game plays like incredibly well, it looks like Anthem. You control mechs to fight these dinosaurs, and there's all these different versions of them.
Anthem meets Left 4 Dead.
Yeah,
insane amount of dinosaurs on screen. It's honestly kind of impressive. I will say that's the one thing that impresses me about this game is like if it runs well, the amount of moving dinosaurs on screen, it's thousands. Right. So.
So I'll play the beta, the quote-unquote beta, even though this is probably more legitly a beta since it's 4 months before release.
Mm-hmm. Not that 2 week ahead of launch beta.
Yeah, so I'll give it a shot. I'll definitely want to, for the show and just for my own I'm just curious about it. Like, this is such a weird product all around.
Yeah.
The trailer featured the multiverse, parallel universe. Characters were staring at different versions of themselves and being all confused, and add that to the dinosaurs.
Listen, this game might be fun, but there's no fucking way that the story's good. So Capcom, ease up with the story. We don't care about that. Just make it fun to play.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, Nick, I mean, they showed off a season pass, pre-order bonuses, character costumes, weapon skins, all the things that I think we're all getting a little tired of. And, I'm wondering if we're kind of seeing in this moment in real time the fall, at least with the messaging of live service games. Obviously with the Suicide Squad kerfluffle that happened at the State of Play. I wonder with this one specifically, because while I was researching this game, I saw conflicting things. I saw some articles that said this is a live service game. I saw some articles saying the developers explicitly say it is not a live service game. So I wonder if it's like, they were planning on saying that going into this event, but with the backlash that Suicide Squad received, like, we got to change the messaging. Like, whatever the case, we got to change the messaging, even if it's obvious because there's a fucking season pass. But needless to say, we'll have some hands-on with it here in a week, and we can kind of talk about it then, see if it's a little fun. Then some smaller announcements here. We got a sneak peek at the HD remaster of the Nintendo DS cult hit Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, coming to Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and Windows on June 30th. I think if you know what that game is, maybe you want to play it, but if not, I've never heard of it. I don't know if you have, Nick.
Nope.
Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. The expansion is going to be coming to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, with a release date of April 28th, which is exciting for Monster Hunter fans. And then lastly here, Nick, we transitioned into the main event. As everybody knows with Capcom, Resident Evil's so hot right now. It's hot with you. You've been playing the shit out of it. So it's kind of nice we got to get a little bit of info here. They started off with just showing a brief glimpse of the upcoming CG film Resident Evil Death Island, looking to be ready for a summer release. And Nick...
We'll get into it later.
Well, I know. Well, there's a certain somebody in this game that Nick might want to check out this movie. But this looks like one of those straight to DVD things. I would not expect it to be good. I would not expect it to light the world on fire. I don't think Resident Evil has had a successful, at least from a quality standpoint, anything except for their games ever. So,
no, I've seen them. They're all bad.
Yeah, they're all
really
trash.
bad.
Yeah. And that led us into, I think, the reason that everybody wanted to tune in today. Got a little bit of Resident Evil 4 information. Demo is out as of yesterday. It's called the Chainsaw Demo. It's not timed. It's not launch limited, so you can play it as many times as you want. And this is basically, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, you've played this. I haven't. Mm-hmm. This is the village section of Resident Evil 4.
It's the start of the game until the end of the village encounter.
Okay, so pretty meaty.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you want to talk about your impressions now, or save it until?
We'll save it because I'm gonna compare it to all the Resident Evil games I've been playing. So.
Sure. So I mean that's all we got, and it was not mind blowing, but I'm okay with these kind of announcements. Or these kind of showcases. I know we've shat on showcases a lot in this show, but it's all about expectations and what you kind of lead the audience to think they're gonna get. And there was no big tune in for this it's gonna blow your mind tweets or anything like that. It was simply like, hey guys, we got an event coming next week, check it out.
Yeah.
And then
and all the games are coming out within the next 4 months, so
yep. And we get a little demo.
Yeah.
So not too bad but Capcom fucking killing it, still are.
Yeah, they have
That's another reason I'm so curious about
next 4 months are pretty good.
Well, yeah, and I mean they haven't missed really since whatever was before Resident Evil 7. They're hot. Mm-hmm. So could Exfil Primal be a sleeper? Maybe. It might. Yeah. I don't know. And
yeah, we'll definitely have thoughts in 2 episodes from now. So episode 41, we'll hopefully both have played it.
We gonna try and kill some dinos together?
Yes. No, we are. Okay. You're going to be forced to.
Okay. Yeah.
So. Yeah, so let's move on. There were even more news items this week, so we had another news roundup. I have 4 topics that I wanted to cover really quick. The first one being that the PlayStation firmware 7.0 is live. We briefly talked about the beta for this a few episodes ago, but it is officially live. You probably have it now as you're listening to this. This is the big one that brings Discord voice chat, VRR support for 1440p. And then it brought a couple of other features that I noticed is there's a new friend. There's a friends who play tile. So if you highlight a game in your menu, you can see who else has played it, not just whether they're playing it right now, but if they've ever played it. When you install a PS4 game now and you have a save file on the cloud, you will be notified about that, which I think is nice. Great. Yeah, so if you go to install an older game that you've played maybe on your old PS4, you'll be notified oh, hey, you have a save file on the cloud. Do you want to download it? Just a quality of life thing. We previously mentioned the wireless update now for the DualSense. You don't have to plug in that USB-C cable.
Did that yesterday.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, crap, it just started going. It was very nice.
Yeah. So another quality of life thing. In the US and the UK, there's some voice command updates. So you can go, hey, PlayStation, capture that, so you don't have to hit the share button on the controller. Or, hey, PlayStation, start recording. It'll start recording your gameplay. Just, again, another quality of life thing. And probably the big thing I'm thinking is just going to blow us all away is there's a new platinum trophy animation.
Yes. That is the most important thing. You're correct. You are correct.
Did you watch it, John? Did you see it?
Yeah, like a video of it. I haven't earned one myself. But
Right.
Yes.
Well,
It's very nice.
yeah, unless you earned a platinum in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just flashy.
I think take it all the way, man. Why stop with a little thing in the corner? Let's just like fucking go all out. Give me like a big exploding platinum screen, like that lights up the entire screen. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, typically when you're earning a platinum, it's not like a big story moment. It's you probably wrapping up collectibles or something. So yeah, you could your DualSense can make some noise, maybe flash a bunch of colors.
Maybe just Jim Ryan's face like slowly comes up from the bottom and he just winks at you and then he slowly goes back down. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. So was there anything else you wanted to add to these list of things?
No, I think that's all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a nice little slow news week, so get this stuff out there.
Yeah, and again, now this is not my prediction for the year of the whole overhaul, but can't argue.
Yeah.
Everything sounded pretty good. So, moving on, the next news item, this was announced before the Exo Primal beta. We also have a Diablo 4 beta coming as well. If you pre-order the game, you can play March 17th through 19th as 3 characters, and then there will be an open beta from March 24th to 26th, and you can be all the characters. So I'm going to be forcing John to join me on that one.
Yeah, you won't have to force me hard on that. Like I'm actually very excited to jump into that.
And it is cross-platform, so if you don't have a PlayStation Pal like I do and John, you can cross-platform with PC or Xbox, wherever you feel like playing. So
you going Necromancer again?
Yeah, I'm glad. It wasn't one of the ones in the early access beta, but it is in the open beta. So I'm just going to try it. I mean, if I don't like it, I'll just try another one.
Yeah, no, that's the beautiful thing about Diablo. Like, you spend it for 15 minutes, you'll have a good idea on the character.
Right, and I'll know before the game's even out. So
I knew immediately I did not want to be a witch doctor in Diablo 3. I don't want little froggy guys flying all over the place.
All right, and then moving on, we have a rumor, but this is coming from Jason Schreier, who's very notable, that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the often delayed third-person action game from Rocksteady. We saw a big showcase of it during the last State of Play. It got 15 minutes. It is getting pushed away from its May 26th release date to another date we don't know. They have not officially announced this, but according to Schreier, this is to, again, more bug squashing, more polish. And he implies it, but he didn't officially say it, as it might have to do with the negative reaction to the State of Play. But again, I don't know what they could fix in a couple months.
It has to. You don't have a State of Play and then have a delay to fix bugs.
Right.
But to that point, it is there unless if they're delaying this thing out of the year a substantial amount of time, I don't know what you can do on a fix the gameplay level. Like, I would love some sort of documentary on the development cycle of this game when it comes out, because there's just so many interesting questions, man. Like, story, developer, Rocksteady, 8 years development, seemingly, a canceled project in the middle and rebooted into something new, which is what we're getting now. There's just so many weird things that happen with this that, like, I honestly shouldn't be surprised that this is going to get, well, might happen depending on the rumor, but it's embarrassing. I feel bad for the developers, that all they're trying to do is just get a good game out, and you get that first initial reception. You only get that first hit once, and from here on out, everybody's gonna be skeptical. Everybody's gonna shit on it whether they've played it or not. And I just hope that those guys can try to tune out the negative noise and just put their best foot forward, make a good game, and let it speak for itself. But
The best way to combat it is a great product. That
Get rid of the purple orbs. Just get rid of the purple orbs. Nobody wants that.
I doubt that.
I know.
It would be interesting if they had, because if you remember, Battlefront 2 kind of had a similar controversy with loot boxes and grind, and they changed it very rapidly. I wonder if they would be into doing something like this. Maybe remove the season pass entirely. Maybe change some damage numbers so the progression is faster.
Yeah.
And just work everything that you're going to do in the battle pass into maybe a season pass of some kind, and just wrap it all into instant unlockables as opposed to grinding out unlockables. There's some ways to get out of this, but we'll see. We'll see if they had what they do.
Yeah.
Again, none of this is official yet.
It's interesting, man. I mean, it's just like doing the math on it. It's like, obviously a company makes a product to make money. That's what they do. That's why they do it. So it's just like, you take a property like a Suicide Squad that's tied to Batman, you just make a solid game, single player game, it's going to sell 15 million copies easily, which is going to net you almost probably $1 billion. So like, my hope is that they're taking it back. They're really dampening down the live service aspects. Like you said, make it maybe just more a grind, like a better grind for the single player person or the person that just wants to play with their friends, and let them be able to walk away from it. And I think you'll see a better reception. Maybe not quite as much money, but you also have to protect the future of Rocksteady. This is a team that's made some of the best games of all time. Like, you can't. It would be so sad to see another BioWare situation where they just let out a stinker and then like they don't really get it, and then let out maybe another one, or just not learn, and then oh shit, I guess we don't have Rocksteady anymore.
Right.
But
or like BioWare is now, just the same boat, like quiet.
Yep.
No games. Where's Dragon Age? I don't know.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, good point bringing up Battlefront, because I believe IGN re-reviewed that after it was fixed, and I think they gave it a 9. So it's like, it's you can fix this shit, but not a good look. Not a good look.
But again, this was a rumor, so we don't know. As of right now, officially, it is still on track for May 26th.
But it's a rumor of the highest order.
Yeah, I don't.
Schreier doesn't miss much.
No,
if at
not all. And then our final news topic over on the Xbox and Bethesda side, their big exclusive, Starfield, got another release date. It is coming September 6th of this year. The first probably big fall announced game.
Yeah.
We know the fall is pretty barren as far as releases. We have some ideas, but nothing official. But here's Starfield planting the first flag. Going to be opening things up right at the beginning of the fall. So
yeah. Let's hope it's not buggy. What's your confidence percent-wise, if you can, that this hits that date? Do you think that for sure this is the date?
No.
Okay.
I remember just people with more background in this than me saying it might not even make this year. So
yeah, it's a tricky one. I do think it'll hit it. I mean, I'm not super confident in it, but I do think it'll hit that date, because with Xbox not releasing anything last year, and up to that point, Redfall will be the only thing, I think, in Hi-Fi Rush. Like, they have to start the fact that they bought Obsidian, like when they went and they bought Obsidian and In Exile and like that whole round, that the only game that's come out since with all that purchasing is Psychonauts 2, I believe. Bethesda's the only team keeping them afloat. Like, it's insane. Like, if they did not buy Bethesda, what the position of that publisher would be right now. But I think they need to get it out, but they just have to be careful, because if it comes out and it's buggy, if it's not what people are hoping for, it's going to be a pretty weird situation that Microsoft's going to find themselves in. But yeah, I think it'll come.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully. I mean, look at Halo Infinite and just gone. Like, and similar thing. Launches, doesn't run right, doesn't launch with co-op, not the most ideal product. Sure, the multiplayer is free, but they dropped the ball on post-content release there, and now it's just nobody's talking about it. It's gone.
Yep.
So, yeah. So we'll see. Well, fingers crossed it hits that date. hope all you Xbox fans are. You need something to eat here.
Yeah.
You're starving.
Well, I've offered my Xbox to Nick if he wants to play it. He keeps telling me no, but we'll see.
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Again, like Suicide Squad, it has to prove that it's even remotely worth it.
Yeah.
And not yet, anyway.
What if they say this is the best Bethesda game yet?
Best Bethesda game is a tricky connotation.
Yeah.
Because if it's more of the Skyrim in space, as we've talked about before, not with them not evolving their presentation and how things work, I don't know. If it leans hard on the building base mechanics, the building ship mechanics that I just do not care for, that I ignored in Fallout 4, it still won't be for me. So
that's fair.
So,
cool.
All right, let's move on.
All right, so I'm ready to bore you ready to get bored, Nick?
Oh, I am.
Yes.
Is your PowerPoint ready?
Yeah, I got my PowerPoint. I got my pocket protector ready to go. So I want to talk real quick, and we'll keep this short because again, I don't want to bore you, but PlayStation just released some of their sales, or rather, the industry as a whole released a lot of the sales numbers for the last quarter, and PlayStation's very healthy, very, very healthy, and especially compared to the rest of the industry. So, just want to kind of go over some numbers and see how we feel about the brand as a whole. But video gaming was marred by consistent year-over-year drops in consumer content spending into January, but PlayStation 5 seemingly has overcome its shortages, and it led to 7.1 million units shipped by Sony in the fourth quarter of 2022, which is a record for PlayStation 5. And wouldn't you know it, Nick, that led to a profit of $3.2 billion, up from $1.5 billion last year. So, I think that's safe to say that the shortage is in fact over, which is very, very good to hear. In turn, total software sales went up more than 30% for the quarter, with a nearly 20% increase in revenue observed for network services as well. Revenue for Sony Group's game and network services segment also increased 53% year over year from the 2021 holiday quarter. So these numbers are coming at a time where layoffs are happening, software companies are not looking too hot. We've seen layoffs from Take-Two, we've seen layoffs from Microsoft, and I just kind of wanted to just kind of get your thoughts, Nick, on do we think that the PlayStation 5 is now back on the track record to outsell its predecessors, or do we think that it's kind of probably still gonna, it was too much damage was done at the front end of the shortages to kind of get there? How are you feeling? Where do you think the PlayStation 5 is going to land for lifetime sales?
I think it's going to be really, really good. Video games continue to just grow and grow and grow. I still think a console is one of the most recession-proof investments you can make. Yeah. Like, you can buy a console and you can have it for a very long time, and games will keep coming out for it. I had my PlayStation 4 Pro for 5 years, and then I sold it back for $300. So I only spent $100 on the console over that period of lifetime of it. Mm-hmm. And to this day, it's still getting games. God of War Ragnarok came out on PS4, and Sony is just they continue to just be masters at releasing software, spreading it out, and doing the right things by all their IPs. I mean, we're going into, last year ended on God of War Ragnarok. We have The Last of Us show going right now. They were able to overcome their stock shortages of PlayStation 5s, even though I have not walked into a store and seen one.
I haven't yet either. I keep hearing that from different people that they've seen them.
Retail stores, I have not walked in and seen one. But no, that's probably a good sign, right? They're probably getting there and just instantly selling out. Yeah. Just everyone I know wants one, and I know we're kind of in a Sony slump, even though PSVR 2 just released. But I mean, if they can hit for the rest of the year, we got Final Fantasy 16 coming, we got Spider-Man 2 supposedly coming, and then whatever else they want to announce. I mean, it's the sky's the limit. I just think a console, when you don't have a lot of money to spend on a vacation, and we saw this with COVID too, when you couldn't go on vacation, when you don't have a lot of money to go on crazy vacations, take your kids to Disney World, PlayStation 5 is quite near a Disney World effect. Yeah. And it, like I said, it has that long-term lifespan that, you can just keep buying games for it. And PlayStation Plus Extra is this great deal. So if you buy a PlayStation 5 and just subscribe to PlayStation Plus Extra, so $100 a year you're spending, you're getting hundreds of games.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
So none of this is surprising to me.
That's great points. But yeah, just to drive the point a little bit further home, man. In February 2023, PlayStation 5 sales are up 457% in Japan, up from 65,000 last year. First month it's ever outsold the Switch, which kind of makes sense because I think people are expecting a new Switch announcement this year anyway, so people are obviously going to slow on that a little bit.
They should have one by now.
They should. Yeah, they definitely
Everyone should have one.
But, also seeing other things such as, it took 121 weeks for PS5 to hit 3 million in Japan, which is faster than both the PS3 and PS4. So it is on a higher trajectory right now, and I think it's going to really start, we're going to see these type of sales for at least a couple months, until the supply and the demand start to even out a little bit. But so PS4 116 million right now, Nick. I want a number. What's PS5 going to be at? Not that let's pray that this podcast is still going when we can talk about this. But 116 million for PS4. Where does PS5 stop?
I think it's going to be really good. When a recession hit over PS3, that console's lifespan was extended. We're kind of in a weird. Are we going to be in a recession? We're kind of in a recession. Are we? These things are doing really good. These things are not. As long as this console lifespan is dragged out, say we got another 5 years, 4 years, probably. I can't see why not.
Yeah. I think it's going to probably land in that 120 to 130 range. Just for comparison, PlayStation 2, 159 million, most sold console of all time, DVD player, obviously. Nintendo DS with 154, and then we got the Switch at 122. So the Switch is probably going to, start fizzling out, I would imagine, at that 150 mark. So I would say we're looking at 130 with the PS5, which will make it the second best-selling PlayStation console of all time. Pretty good.
That is impressive.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's interesting. This generation's been unlike any other, where we had this crazy bottleneck at the front end of it for so long. So yeah, we'll see how it pans out at the end. But
I know you got into gaming a little later. Do you remember when E3 press conferences would have these kind of numbers in them?
No.
You don't remember the infamous one where they did it all in Little Big Planet? They presented their numbers in Little Big Planet?
Nope.
Okay.
No, my obsession with the industry, not just playing, was like 2012, 2013.
Okay.
So any of those goofy old E3 conferences I never saw. I think
Lucky you.
Yeah. I remember seeing, little segments like, the infamous PlayStation 3 $5.99 thing.
Right. Yeah.
Reggie Fils-Aimé doing some weird shit on stage. But I don't remember.
They used to they would, obviously bookend it with the big stuff, but then in the middle you'd have that numbers lull.
I'm so bored.
Yeah, I don't care how much it's sold. Nobody's here to see how much it's sold. And eventually that, obviously, because you've never seen it, that message got relayed to them, because you only hear that in shareholder meetings. Every showcase now is just game after game after game after game.
Right.
They're banging. So... but yeah, this made me feel like that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad I can be of service.
All right, let's turn this ship around to the fun things. I won't talk about it specifically here, but what made me think of this is Resident Evil 3, which I'll touch on later. The beginning of that game is this kind of bombastic run away from the nemesis as he chases you through an apartment complex. And I was like, oh wow, this is getting my blood pumping. This is how you start a game. And I just wanted to go through kind of our favorite video game openings.
Love it.
And I brought 3, but I do have some. I broke them up into kind of categories. Is how a game usually starts. Okay. So I consider RE3 the big bombastic opening, the flashy, oh my gosh, the Resident Evil 4 village part, within the first 10 minutes you're being surrounded by villagers and it's this high intensity, get your blood pumping and be like, oh wow, this is just the beginning. What am I in for the rest of the game? Dead Space 2, famously the same thing. The Last of Us Part 1, just crazy. MGS5, The Phantom Pain. A lot of games lean into this, just have this tense, get your blood pumping moment. But for me, my favorite in that category is Mass Effect 2, which also starts with a crazy, bombastic opening. You're on the Normandy, you get attacked by the collectors. And crazy enough, it ends with your character who you, if you played Mass Effect 1, you imported them in. It starts with that character dying. Which is crazy. And then it goes through this sequence where your character is brought back to life by this group that in the previous game was considered terrorist. And of course, when you wake up, you're also being attacked. So it's just it's just nonstop. But yeah, it was kind of my favorite one because I was like, what the hell? They just killed my guy. It's like, is he coming back?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? But yeah, that was a fun one. So I'll let you do the next one.
Sure. So yeah, when I was going through this, it was hard to kind of separate, like, did I like this because it's an amazing opening or it's just one of my favorite games? Like I felt like that happened over and over again. But one that stood out to me, that's not one of my favorite games, and it's a pretty simple opening. It really doesn't fit into any specific category, but it's the opening to Doom 2016. Because this game, you're killing demons within 15 seconds. Like, they know exactly why you're here. They know exactly what you're here to do, and they let you get right to it. And I respect the hell out of that. But it's not just the fact that you can, like, you jump into it, you're on a table, you wake up, you punch a demon in the face or whatever, and you start blasting. But there's also a little scene later in that first opening where you're riding an elevator, and I believe it's the antagonist is talking to you, Samuel Hayden or whatever his name is, and he's kind of like giving you this big long speech, and the Doom music slowly playing in the background, and then towards the end of the speech, the Doom guy just punches the speaker, says like basically like, shut the fuck up. The music ramps up, it goes do-do-do-do-do-do, gets that awesome heavy metal, and then like when the song ends, he cocks his shotgun to like be the last note. It's just beautiful. It's perfect. So that one was. I really appreciate when a game just lets you take the controls immediately and doesn't like jerk you around for a whole
right.
lot
I also
of time.
like a little bit of world building in that is that the demons were worshiping you because obviously you were like you've killed millions of them.
Yeah.
So like you were just kind of like this at this altar when you wake up of you. But yeah, I actually have a category for that one too. It's called Right in the Thick of It. Like
Nice.
just the game just launches you into it. So and similar to that, I have Final Fantasy VII / Final Fantasy VII Remake, the infamous bombing run,
Real unique answer, Nick. Just kidding.
Where you're just on a train, you get off the train and you're right in your first battle, and it's just like, okay. Yeah, the music's incredible too, similar to Doom 2016.
Who ordered a fucking pizza?
Similar to Doom 2016, the music's incredible. It's just like, it gets you right in the thick of it. You're doing a battle. You're whipping out your crazy sword. You're with Barrett. You don't know what's going on. You just know that you're a hired mercenary helping take down this Mako reactor. And there's just something to be said of just thrusting the player in and just being like, oh, I got to figure this out. But I know what to do.
Yep.
So that's my second category.
Yeah, very iconic opening for sure. I'm going to throw a little bit of an audible in here. The next two that I selected was The Last of Us and God of War 3. Last of Us, I don't know if I really want to talk about because we all know, we talk about the show. It's incredible, but it is what it is. But God of War 3, it fits in that first category that you had. You're immediately thrown into this battle against all of the major gods, right? You've spent 2 full games, taken down maybe 1, maybe 2. You take down the Fates in the second one, but this time you're fighting Poseidon and Gaia's climbing up this mountain, and there's just so much crazy shit happening all at the same time while you're killing gods and getting up to Zeus, and then what happens with Zeus at the top of the mountain too. It's just... Yeah, it immediately goes, yep, nope, this is what I want. I'm here to cause as much mayhem and chaos as I can, and it just, again, it knows what it is, and I respect it for it. And do you know what year God of War 3 came out off the top of your head?
2007 is when I got a PS3 was that year. Also interesting about that is because it picks up right where 2 left off. Like it's like 1-to-1 of how 2 ended, which 2 ended on the big
climbing the mountain.
That big cliffhanger.
Zeus!
Yeah, so
2010. So I was 21. That's what I'm a 21-year-old boy. I'm watching 300. I'm playing God of War 3. That's what I want to do. So God of War 3, very, very, very memorable for me.
Okay. All right, and then my final category and my final game is slow world building. So this is when you're introduced to the world. You're typically walking through it.
Half-Life.
Yeah, Half-Life is one of them.
Oh, I thought that was your guy.
BioShock, you're kind of just taking in Rapture. You're going through like this like submarine, and just you get this great view of the city. It's just this kind of world building. The most recently released Atomic Heart does the same thing, but it should be no shocker as to what my favorite one is, and that is Batman Arkham Asylum.
Good one.
You have just captured the Joker. You're walking with him and some cops as you escort the Joker into Arkham Asylum. You get kind of a view of the asylum itself. You get a brief interaction with Killer Croc, who in this version is like 4 times as large as you, just hulking around. Yeah. And, kind of just slowly get you there to where you get to the point where Joker escapes and takes over Arkham. I always appreciate, again, that type of kind of just like, you're just sitting, walking around, absorbing the world, and this is the slow approach. Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
I
like that. Good job, Nick. It was a good job breaking them into categories. I feel like God of War 2018 kind of fits into that a little bit, where it's like, just slow, or we're learning a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of getting to the house and seeing what
just
the world
hunting,
is.
having a relaxing time, yelling at your son.
Mourning your wife, nice and relaxing. All right, I do have one more, but just a couple honorable mentions first. Uncharted 2, iconic opening, dangling off the train off the side of the mountain, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nier Automata, I love that game personally, so the fact that you immediately start flying and you're doing like this bullet hell thing, and then it switches to this, action platformer thing, I was just like, I don't know what I'm playing, but I like it a lot, and then it ends with a huge mech fight, so really like that. Old one, but it had an impact on me, was Medal of Honor Frontline, because it was like, I think it was like one of the very first-person shooters I played, and you storm is D-Day, right? It's Normandy Beach. Right. So like, I remember playing that, and like my dad, who's a huge war buff, was like, "What is this?" And at the time, of course, thinking the graphics are realistic and all that nonsense.
Right.
But the one I want to talk about is one of my favorite games is Portal 2. I don't know what this would fit in. It'd probably fit in the world building aspect, I think.
It's funny, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, so you're kind of like, you start off and you're in the Aperture Lab again, and you go into this this like room. It looks like a bedroom or whatever, and you fall asleep, and like a long time passes, where basically the area that surrounds you, the lab, is started to decay, and it just looks gross, right? It looks like it's a lot of time has passed.
Right.
And Wheatley comes in, who's one of the funniest characters in video game history to me, and he's got voiced by Stephen Merchant, who, if you're familiar with him, he's British humor, dry humor kind of guy, which I always dig. And you immediately get a vibe for the game, which, if you played the first Portal, you kind of knew what it was going into it. But, and then, like, you start moving, and the room starts to break apart, and you realize you're on this, like, conveyor belt kind of going through more of Aperture Labs. It's much, much bigger than you think it is. But it's a kind of a combination of, I think, a little bombastic, a little bit of world building, and just funny. So always remember the beginning of Portal 2. I love Wheatley. He's fucking hilarious, so...
Yeah. Once you started describing, I was like, clicked.
Yep.
I was like, oh, yep, I remember now.
Yep. I mean, both Portal games, honestly. I mean, even the beginning of the first one's not anything really crazy, but it's memorable. It's like, listening to GLaDOS just, be berate, just tell you how stupid you are. Great writing in those games, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a few more entries in that as the year goes on. But let's move on to the games I've been playing, which is a whole lot of Resident Evil. First and foremost, want to say that I finished Norco. I platinum Norco. I still don't know what's going on in Norco.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out.
I will. If you love adventure games, check it out. Very cheap game.
Super Duck, dude. It's just Super Duck.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't know what Super Duck is.
It's an app on a phone. So then I decided to move back in to prepare for Resident Evil 4. It's 2 weeks away from today as we're recording.
Yeah.
So I went back to RE2. I went and finished the Leon playthrough, the second playthrough for Leon, which I had a great time with. I enjoyed it much more than the Claire playthrough. I appreciated the changes they had made, remixing the police station, and then, I didn't appreciate more Mr. X, but I could appreciate him showing up where I wasn't expecting.
Dude, just wanted a hug, man.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted. Just give me a hug.
Do you remember where the STARS office is?
No.
Oh, okay. It's the STARS office is like on the second floor, and outside of it is just this giant long hallway. And your first playthrough, it's kind of where you run into your first liquor.
Okay, yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah, but on your second playthrough, it's where Mr. X comes back.
Oh, nice.
The first time you meet him, and I'm just like, God, no. And then
That's a lot earlier, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a lot earlier. Yeah, no, you see him three times instead of just the one time.
Okay.
So and then further in the game, you kind of get in this underground lab, the nest, and. Yeah, I'm just grabbing a bracelet just like I did in my first playthrough with Claire, and all of a sudden he's there looking at me through the glass, and he breaks through the glass, and I'm like, oh God, I gotta run away from him again.
Leave me alone.
But it's cool. There's a different final boss. Mr. X is the final boss of the second playthrough, and then you play an ultimate final boss if you've completed both. So I just thought that was great. Finished the game, and then I went right into Resident Evil 3. And I already talked to John about this, but I typically don't get horny for video game characters. I don't find them attractive. They're just pixelated there. Even the most absurd characters like Ivy.
There had to be somebody in Cyberpunk. There had to have.
Everyone's dressed sexy in Cyberpunk. It's a little obnoxious, to be honest. It should be pulled back. But no, nobody particular in Cyberpunk. Even with them in your face and all that, but the model for Jill Valentine, the main character.
Be still, my heart.
I'd love you. I should have wrote down her name, but I didn't. It's Alexandra Zotova. It's striking. I just was blown away. The game starts with a first-person view of her, and you get to see her in a mirror, and then you're playing throughout the whole game. I'm like, this is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, and this just goes to show how well facial capture and just everything is just great.
God damn.
Yeah, I was definitely taken aback, Yeah, Resident Evil 3, which I think people were kind of mixed on. It is very short. I completed it in about 6 hours, but I really, really loved it. From that bombastic opening where I'm running from the Nemesis, I do think, I know, John, you were complaining that the first hour is kind of weak.
Yeah,
because they do a job of bringing in more zombies and more enemies in general, and you're not sure what to do with them. And if you're coming right from RE2, typically you're trying to play the conservative route, and very early on in the game you have to, but it doesn't take very long to become an action game. I actually think this game is a good half step between RE2 and RE4, because it is kind of a mix of both of those games. When you progress further, it becomes more of an action game. But I actually like that it was just 6 hours. It brought in a bunch of random enemies from RE1 and some new ones exclusive to this game, the Gammas. There's these bug-like creatures, and they only are kind of in certain sections. This one is much more cutscene heavy. RE2 is very lonely. You only run into Chief Irons or Ada or Sherry, or the police officer you meet at the beginning. Most of the time you're by yourself. It's just you and all the creatures. Yeah. RE3, people are talking all the time. You're on your radio. There's all these cutscenes. It's a much more RE4 cinematic experience, but it is also separated by a few great sequences. One is going back to the police station before the events of RE2. So it'll explain some of the things that happened in RE2, and then there's also this great hospital section, and that's just freaky as shit because it's a hospital. I don't want to be in a hospital during the zombie apocalypse.
I feel like everybody's in. I feel like you have to go to a hospital at least once during a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, it seems most games will do it. Left 4 Dead did it.
Last of Us.
Yep, Last of Us. so it is an iconic.
That's where the medicine is.
And yeah, just between the weapons and just the length, I thought it was great. I was kind of taken aback how much I liked it and saw it through to the end. The boss fights are a little dragged out. All that ammo they give you is just so these so the Nemesis itself can just eat ammo like crazy. Like just the amount of like grenade shots. I think I have 15 or 16 shots into one form of them, and he just keeps coming back and back. So
Yeah, I don't like that.
yeah. So but I mean, there's a bunch of Souls fans out here. You guys love your protracted boss battles where you got to do a lot of damage to guys.
Don't you dare. All right, don't you dare. You take that back.
So
That's not why we like those boss battles.
But also RE3 introduces this R1 dodge mechanic, and it's great because the Nemesis in this is nowhere like Mr. X. This Nemesis jumps around. He's very quick. He has like a tentacle, like grappling hook that he'll try and grab you with and pull you to. And just the R1 just gives you more combat options, like to dodge all the creatures in this game, to deal with the increased hordes of zombies. Like there's probably like 7 or 8 zombies in a room, and you just can't shoot them. They'll eventually get to you. But with the dodge mechanic, at least it's easier to handle, and it's really great to have that option. So, do you have any? Are you going to play it, John?
No, probably not. I've played a little bit of 3. So we kind of have, I think, opposite opinions on the 2 games, which is interesting. You know, obviously we're here to talk about games and what we like about them, what we don't. But what I think I've realized with my survival horror games is I like the slower paced portions of them. I like, you know, as I talked about with Dead Space, I love the front half of it much more than the back half. And same thing I think goes with RE7 and RE8. And RE3 just kind of felt like the entire game was the back half of a game for me. And where it's just like, I don't want to walk into a room with 8 zombies. Like, that's not why I'm playing these. I like to be a little more strategic and, you know, have to feel like I'm running out of ammo and things like that. So I played the first hour of RE3, but exactly what you said, Nick. I got into this area where, yeah, there was a bunch of zombies, and I had like 7 bullets, and I don't know if I was just being stubborn, but I was like, oh, I have to kill all these guys. Like, that's part of the game, is to clear out the path so that when I come back to them later, they're not infested with zombies. And I don't know, I guess it was just, I probably should go back and give it a second shot, but like at the time I was just like, this is not what I'm looking for right now. I was kind of hoping for a slower paced thing. And you know, you got this digitally, right? Okay. Well, I would say if you had it, I might give it another shot. But you know, if it's on super sale sometime, or if it comes free, I'd probably check it out again. But I'm not gonna have it move aside games that are in my backlog that I need to get to over.
I believe there is a Capcom sale going on right now. So of course, again, you can't see it if you've already bought it, what the price is.
Yeah.
But I think it is very cheap.
This is dumb. Why is that the case?
And do you remember Resident Evil Resistance?
That was the tacked on multiplayer thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. But it just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I was looking for it because I'm like, does it still exist? Because there's no mention in the game. It is completely removed from Resident Evil 3 now. Like, you cannot, because the game is delisted. It's not even a game you can access. But I remember when Resident Evil 3 launched that it had this, I think it was a asymmetric 4v1 multiplayer where a person would be kind of like a dungeon master basically, and could put zombies and dogs in rooms, and then I believe if they wanted to control Mr. X or the tyrant, they could do so. But again, that game was gone. Like me looking it up, it just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's very weird because between that and Reverse,
yes,
which still hasn't come out, I don't think.
No.
And I've heard something that says like they have to release it because there's some like contractual obligation to like the people that they promised. Yeah, some weird thing. But yeah, it's just I don't know, just make me spooky single player games. I don't need this tacked on bullshit. I mean, like, I don't know. It just screams at like kind of the era of the 2010s where every single game, Uncharted 3, Mass Effect, they all had these multiplayer suites where it's just like it's not why we're here, guys.
Right.
So
right. Well,
yeah,
you would think it would
that.
be popular, you know, with games like Dead by Daylight and all the other games out there that Resident Evil could make a successful one, but they've made so many and they've all.
They don't know
failed.
how to do anything besides the core fucking thing, like movies, shows, multiple. Just the only thing that they're really good at it, which is weird, is just those core campaigns.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's only $10 right now.
Yeah.
Don't fucking tempt me, Nick.
It's like you said, it's only 6 hours. We got Resident Evil 4 coming.
Yeah, 6 hours is about a month's worth of game time for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh boy. All right, and then just moving on to the Resident Evil 4 demo that they just released. I went through and played that. And you know that great R1 mechanic I was just explaining that I thought was a great
Oh yeah, I didn't
option?
like the dodge either. That was another thing.
Well, I guess you're good to go because in Resident Evil 4, it's gone. It's gone.
It's gone. Yeah,
Yep.
it's gone.
R1 is just another run with the left stick,
Okay.
clicking it in. So that's a bummer. And the demo is just basically, like I said, that if you Resident Evil 4, it's been around a long time. It's where Leon goes into a house to find his pals, the guys he was with, and to finding them all dead.
There's a basement in that house now, isn't there?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
You have to go into a basement, and then, of course, the guy you just killed is not dead. He's gonna come down to that basement and run at you, which did freak me out because it's one of those scenes where you're in the basement looking for the key to this door, and you hear the door to the basement shut, and you're like, "Oh God, he's coming down here, isn't he?"
Do they still scream their Spanish crazy language at you?
Yes.
Yes, cabrón!
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
Okay.
That's still in this. And this time around, the knife kind of plays a bigger role. In RE2, the knife was just a consumable. You use the knife, you stab things, it wear down, gone. But you could pick up other knives. In RE2, it was a permanent item with it could not wear down at all. In RE4, it is this like key item. It doesn't take any inventory space. And you can use it to stealth kill enemies. If you stun a guy, you could be prompted to kill them with the knife.
So it's a shiv.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
But it's always on your person, and then it has durability that goes down, and then the other option you have is now you can parry. So if you hit L1 when any enemy goes to attack you, if a villager's driving at you with a pitchfork and you hit L1, you can reflect back and stun them.
The Soulsborne community wins again.
Yeah.
I never liked parrying though. Parrying was awesome.
Yeah, so it's this new mechanic. It's integrated in. It's probably going to help you when you get in these giant hordes of guys and you got to just get through because ammo concerns, which happens quite soon after this. That is going to be a big part. I didn't see any option to repair the knife after I wore it out, and I didn't have the time to repair it even if I wanted.
Yeah.
But so that's a whole new thing. I'm reading previews. It's an upgradable item now, so you can, make it better, increase that durability, repair it, and so forth. So it's just going to be a bigger part of the experience. And then the only other quality of life that I experienced was in the case. Normally if you have a red and green herb, right, you have to click the green herb and hit combine.
Wait, you say herb? You don't say herb?
Herb.
Herb? Sorry.
Herb. Herb. So you click on the green herb,
There you go.
And you would have to go combine, and then you would drag it over to the red herb,
Yep.
and then it would create it. Well, now you just click on the green herb, and you hit combine, and it gives you every option that you have.
Ooh, that's nice.
So it'll tell you every formula, and if you have all the ingredients, it'll go and just
Nice.
make it for you. So
Okay.
if you have the red, green, and blue, it'll all be there.
Super potion.
Yep. and probably for all the other, because there's a bunch of other resources in this for, it's just like the other games where 2 gunpowders create ammo and all this and so forth. But it's just a quality of life thing.
I always loved moving the pieces around in the case, like the Tetris style, where you just once you get things to
That's
fit
back.
perfectly, it feels very good.
But the village encounter itself is just as crazy and hectic, and I quickly ran out of ammo. It was just because I played the sequence, before when the game originally came out, that I just knew I had to wait it out. So it was just like this loop of me running across certain areas, and I don't remember if they could change the environment. Like I went through this tunnel and a chainsaw guy followed me before, and then I had to witness a cutscene of him just taking out all
that
the
never
pillars, and then that way wasn't open to me anymore.
That's cool.
Yeah, and just some great frightening moments where a villager was holding me from behind while the chainsaw guy was coming up to me, and I was like, "Oh God, oh Jesus!"
Yeah, that's a brutal death animation from what I remember too. It's just to watch him chainsaw your head off. Well, the most important question, Nick, is does Leon say the line, the bingo line? Does he say it in this demo? Where'd everybody go? Bingo?
He does. Yes, he
does say it? Okay.
Yes, he does.
All right, cool. All right, good.
I was wondering what famous line you were thinking of, but yeah. The demo, like I said, it just escalates. There's like, I don't know exactly, but at least 10 to 15 of these enemies coming for you. They don't have guns. They're all melee.
Yeah.
But you just kind of hold out, and then the church bell rings, and then they all just stop. They just slowly walk by Leon, and that's where you get that famous line, and then that's where the demo ends. Where'd everybody go?
No, it sounds great, man. You're still on path to get it day one? Would you say? Yeah. Okay.
I'd say so. Yeah.
All right. So you've been playing a lot of Resident Evil, man. I mean, with your love for, well, not your love for first person games, but you accept them now. Any interest in Village or 7? Going back to those?
No.
Okay.
I'm
a man who
excited.
knows his likes, sticks to his principles.
Yeah, the whole Ethan Winter. I've watched playthroughs of both those games, so I know what happened. So that takes a big part of it out of that equation.
Yeah.
But I am excited for whatever 9 is. If 9 is some kind of third person game, or if they can just maybe move to some original stories in this same engine that they've been remaking all these games in. I'm in.
They've now solidified a way to do third-person games, first-person games. Village is all 3, right? They've figured Village is all 3 of those.
Right.
It's a first-person, VR, and third. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't try to integrate that into 9, because I'm sure they got a lot of info back about I don't want to play 7 because I like the third-person ones. Well, I don't want to play the remakes because I like the first-person ones. So if they can figure out a way that it doesn't fucking matter, that'd be great. But yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Yeah, 7's my favorite Resident Evil, I think, now that I think about it more and more, because I think it is a little bit slower than the rest. But I think I'm going to try and approach Resident Evil 4 as not a survival horror game, but an action game. And I think if I do it that way, I'll not have as many problems with it. I love Resident Evil 4. The original one, I fully expect to love this too. I don't want those feelings that I've had with the end of survival horror games to kind of creep into this, because I need to, knowing what Resident Evil 4 is.
How long ago did you play it?
2006.
Yeah, when it came out?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to replay it, but the controls felt too horrible, because the original one has the you cannot move and aim at the same time mechanic, which, I can't go back to that. So, but, cool, man.
Yeah, and just, I know, John, I don't want to rub this in your face.
No, rub away.
This time this year, I had only beaten one game, Horizon Forbidden West. As of right now, I have beaten 7 games.
Yeah.
And we're not even done with March, so I'm on pace to beat over 20 games this year.
Dude, you're on pace to beat 40 games this year.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, 7 games in 2 months, 7 times 6, 42.
Well, don't worry. I did my best effort. I have a physical copy of Persona 5.
Yeah.
That'll slow me down quite a bit.
Yeah.
My pace. So
that's good. I'm glad that somebody can bring games to the podcast, and you're gonna have to carry that weight for a little more, man. Because I don't think I've played a game in 10 days. So.
No.
It's I live in the world of video game commentary and analysis right now. I don't live in the world of playing them. So,
but that's okay, because we have an amazing show that's still going strong. About to wrap up here. That's been tiding me over a little bit. So, got to talk about episode 8 here, Nick. Got to talk about episode 8. So, it's titled "When We Are in Need." Yeah, man. Just give me your, what'd you think right off the bat? How did this episode make you feel? For context, this is the part of the story where we get to meet David. And if you've played the game, he is maybe the most despicable person in this entire game. So, what are your overall thoughts on the episode here?
It was great. It definitely stuck to a lot of the key moments that were in the game, including all the interactions between Ellie and David, all the brutal things Joel did to find out where Ellie is. Yeah, I think it did a great job of that, but also using what the medium does best, in which we don't have to be with Ellie. We don't have to be with Joel this time, that we get a kind of further expansion of David, of the people that he's with, and and we get Troy Baker playing James. So his right-hand man, which it seems like the right-hand man of our antagonists so far have all been voice actors in the game. So it's a great episode. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's very creepy. They just expand on a lot of the creepiness of David, and it's a great episode. From start to finish.
Yeah, no, this one is, probably was one of the hardest episodes, probably was the hardest episode to watch. David is an abhorrent person for many reasons, the two biggest being that he obviously has sexual desires for Ellie, whether that comes from a place of pure lust or not, of power. It's either way, it's very unsettling to watch a man of his age, kind of creep on Ellie, so there's that side of it too, but also, the fact that he's leading this group of people and knowingly engaging in cannibalism, right? These are very hard things and very hard truths to come across, but again, the world of The Last of Us doesn't pull punches, and so you're going to see these things. But yeah, it was I agree, man. It was another excellent example of staying true to the source material while adding texture where you can. And I gotta just continue to say that Bella Ramsey is incredible in this role. We were talking earlier about it, and this episode has one of my favorite lines from the entire game. Is when Ellie is in the cage with David, and David's trying to basically convince her, right? We should join together. We could be such a formidable team. I'm surrounded by idiots, and you're obviously very smart. And Ellie is so smart that she picks up on what he's doing, gets nice and close to him, and is able to basically break his fingers. And David smashes her face into the cage, and obviously lots of brutal instances there, but it results in this awesome line from Ellie where David's been trying to get her name the entire time, and she won't give it to him, and she says, well, Ellie. He's like, what? Ellie's the name of the little girl that broke your fucking finger. And Bella just plays it perfectly, and she has so much nuance to the character, and I'm so happy for her, happy for the fans, because Ellie is so important to a lot of us. I've said it on the show, she's probably my favorite video game character of all time, and laying the foundation for who this character is going to become is very important, and Bella does a fantastic job in this episode of letting, as David says in the episode, her violent heart out. This could be the moment that Ellie, there's no going back to innocent Ellie. Ellie is broken. We see that at the end of the episode when Joel comforts her, which actually we should probably mention that is one of the bigger changes from the game to the show. Is in the game, when Ellie has her final confrontation with David and she kills him, Joel saves her, basically. Joel is able to at least saves her emotionally in that moment, right? He pulls her off of David. And in this case, Ellie saves herself. She stops herself. She basically gets out of the building, and that's where Joel comforts her a little bit and saves her before she has a total fucking mental breakdown. But I thought that was a good call, in the overall story, to allow Ellie to get a little bit more agency, to be a little more autonomous and kind of come to that herself. But you still get that crazy emotional impact of, don't worry, baby girl, I got you. Like, that line is very heartfelt, and you just see these two go full on fucking psycho for one another. Joel is not, there's the famous interrogation scene in this episode too, right? Where Joel is not doing that because he gets pleasure out of it. He's not doing it because he needs to get something. He's doing it because he knows Ellie's in danger and he needs to get there to save her. Ellie, on the flip side, is still concerned about Joel when she's captured. She's concerned not with what's going to happen to her in the moment. She's concerned with getting back to Joel. And so I think all these moments, it is to save her own skin, but I think she's in the back of her head. She's like, I have to get to Joel. Joel's dying. Joel needs me. And so to, kind of see these two characters use violence in such a horrible way for the love that they have, it really just fits into the themes of the show and the game. And just kind of feel like a fucking broken record sometimes, but I just, I am continually impressed with how both of these translations are equally impactful and equally impressive in every regard. Yeah. And I cannot wait for we got one more episode.
So, speaking of changes from the game, I know we don't feel this way, but let's get it on recording because it is kind of what a lot of the game players are talking about, and that is the lack of clickers. And especially in the Joel and Ellie, I mean, they haven't seen a clicker since episode 5. Right. Granted, it was a lot of clickers, and it was a great, climax to an episode. But and slight spoilers here, we know we're not going to see a clicker again. Right. This season.
Right. So I feel that it all comes down to understanding the mediums that we are indulging in. And with a medium such as television, where you are not the person, you are not controlling anybody, you have no decision making at all, watching Joel and Ellie just fight a bunch of clickers multiple times would have lost its luster. It would have lessened the impact of these creatures and lessened the danger that they're in. I think if you just saw every episode them fighting another couple clickers, fighting whatever, or even in this episode, right? One of the changes is there is a section in the game where Ellie and David are basically teamed up, where they're fighting clickers on their own. But that would not translate well into a show, or at least for me. I think that would appeal to a certain demographic of people, and I'm going to sound pretentious and shitty here, but this show is special because of the writing, because of the character development and the ways that they interact with one another. Craig Mazin is an incredible writer. It seems like the people who have a problem with the clickers are the same type of people who want to, the movie they're most excited for is a Michael Bay movie. Nothing wrong with that. It's fine. But you're going to a thing to watch explosions, to see high-octane action, and that's all you want, and that's great. But that's not what this is. That's not what the game is. The game is a character study on Ellie, on Joel, the relationship that they build, the growth that you experience between those two, and you're not going to see the same type of growth between those two if they're just getting into fights with clickers. Like they're gonna get into a fight, they're gonna get out of the fight, and they're gonna go, "Oh, that was crazy." Ugh. But like you're not gonna get any type of back and forth character building, having these moments with, if you're gonna have those things, if we want 2-hour episodes, you're not gonna be able to explore Kathleen and the interactions that she has and explaining, how her relationship with her and her brother impacts what's going on in the story. You're not gonna have the moments with David being a preacher and him showing himself in who he is outside of the interactions that we as the player get to see because we're in control of these people. So I think it does stink in a little bit of a regard because the prosthetics are so good, the effects are so good that you would like to see more of this stuff. But I don't think that's what the show should have focused on. I think they got it right. Yeah. With all of that. Because
secondly, it just doesn't make sense. It's not believable. Whether it be Joel, Ellie, Nathan Drake, it would not be believable if they're killing hundreds of people, hundreds of clickers, hundreds of anything. Like, video games in their nature are power fantasies. Video games in their nature have to be interactive. Yep. So they have to throw, if you're a third-person shooter, you have to throw a lot of things at you. I don't believe Jill Valentine would survive all her encounters with zombie dogs, zombies, the nemesis. That's not believable.
Well, and in fact, she doesn't. Did you die in Resident Evil 3, Nick? Did you ever die?
Yeah, of course.
You cannot put these things on equal playing grounds.
An audience is not going to believe that Ellie killed 20 of Joel or David's guys before she got captured, like she does in the game, right. Or you could, unless you're playing completely stealthy. And same thing with Joel. Joel kills 15 guys probably before he even gets to Ellie to rescue her. Oh. You just can't. It's just not believable. But when your head's in a game, you're like, well, these are combat encounters, and they're not. You kind of don't think of them as people, even though The Last of Us Part 2 really wants you to think of them as people.
Yes, they do.
That it just wouldn't be believable. So I find those, and again, they're internet arguments, so I'm just leave it at that. They're the very few people that, if you're complaining about
Wait. Every time anybody tells me anything about the internet, they start it off with, everybody's saying that.
Yeah,
that's what they say.
Exactly. So I just wanted to quickly cover on it because I think it's the last time we'll really see it, unless the next episode Joel kills a bunch of people. That would be funny, but I don't think he will. So it's just you got to understand your medium that you're interacting with, and both of them have their strengths, right? Like if I'm playing a game, I don't want to sit there and watch it like The Last of Us, the TV show is. I don't want all these cutscenes and that little amount of gameplay. I want. I want the scale to tip in the gameplay direction, and vice versa. So,
no, absolutely. I think if anybody has those type of, come to those type of conclusions, they just really don't understand the main crux of the show.
No.
It is not a zombie show. That is not what it is. Right. So,
all right. So we're up to the finale. I want to get your thoughts on some things on the finale.
Okay.
And again, if you don't want anything to be known, skip ahead. I'd say like 5 minutes. Will there be giraffes in episode 9?
100%. 100%. That's too important of a moment. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
That'll be the moment that happens right before shit just.
Sure.
As it is in the game. Yep.
Will we get? Is it all for nothing?
Line?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Two softballs for that. Now here's
what, do you have answers, or do you agree? Do you disagree?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think for both.
Okay.
And now here's the not softball. Again, this is a show that exists before that, with knowledge of Last of Us Part 2, and given our knowledge of Last of Us Part 2, is Abby gonna be in the finale?
I don't think so. I know you do.
I do.
I know
strongly
you do.
agree.
I know you do, but I'm trying to think of a way, except for just having a cutaway to let's introduce Abby, that would make sense. Because I thought, well, maybe she.
One.
You got one? Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so I was thinking maybe she's watching the surgery from afar and she sees her dad get shot. Maybe, but
That's not
okay. How's it happen? Enlighten me.
It is it may be after credits. I don't know. A lot of TV shows aren't doing after credits, but maybe the last scene of the show would be Abby, and I think we'd be introduced to her before this too.
Okay.
Just her interaction with her dad, but I think Abby finding her dad dead would be one of the final shots.
You make a good point, because I do also think that I think we're going to get more of the Doctor, to humanize him, to get the player to view him as more than just this guy you walk into a room and Joel shoots. Yeah. So I do think you're going to get a little bit more of the Doctor, and if you get a little bit more of the Doctor, I could see there being a moment of all right, Abby, I'll see you after I get home from work or something. Something like that. But God damn it, I'm still going to say no just so one of us can be right.
We also know that Ashley Johnson is in the show. She is in the next episode. And she is, we presume that she is Ellie's mom, so we think there's going to be a flashback.
She is. Her character is Anna Williams.
Okay, so we know a lot. So, that will take up some time in the episode, but so we do have a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
We don't know how long this episode is, so.
Yeah, I mean,
I want them to do it because I think Abby is so incredibly important that I think you need to lay the groundwork.
Yeah, I mean, they've been laying groundwork. Ellie seems more violent in this one than I remember her being in the game. I mean, she still does the same story beats.
The David part, when she's killing David is.
Yeah, so it seemed intentional to be she's to show what she's capable of. Yeah, I mean, this last episode will be interesting because in the game, right after David that happens, you're in Salt Lake City, right? I don't think there's nothing in between. So like you're just there. So like
that's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I wonder if people are gonna be like, well, what what, we're just there? But like that's also happened in the show up to this point.
Yeah,
like they don't show any of the
3
travel.
months later.
Yeah. So you know you can skip a lot of time that way. So yeah, you're in Salt Lake City. You see a giraffe, and you're in the hospital. Like I mean that's kind of all that's happening. So. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is, 75-minute episode, 72 minutes, something like that. But
yeah, this big finale.
Yeah, so we'll see. I know the internet, everybody's talking that, Bella Ramsey tweeted out that the finale is going to be divisive. And two schools of thought on that is it because they're changing it, or is it because like it's just how the ending is and it's controversial? I tend to think the latter, but that's going to be something to discuss as well.
All right. And boy, will we have time to discuss it, because I do want to remind everyone that we will not be talking about episode 9 as part of our normal episode 40. It will be part of its own bonus episode in which we talk lots and lots of Last of Us. So expect next week for there to be 2 things in the feed. Bonus episode about this when John and me recover after the finale and are ready to talk about it. And then our normal show. So
hell yeah.
So I'm excited, man. That Sunday night.
I'm excited and I'm sad. I'm so sad. Like it's gonna be. You only get the first season of The Last of Us once,
Right.
Like, that's over. Luckily for me, Succession's in 2 weeks, and that show's fucking phenomenal. If you haven't seen that, but yeah, when do you think season 2 will be?
I have no idea. HBO's so weird.
Yeah.
It could be a year from now. It could be a year and a half.
When I know like they usually have a big spring show, which is this. A little earlier than typical because I think Game of Thrones was more in the March-April area. But like, do they usually have a big fall show? They got it right. They gotta have
I would think so.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see this in like a year and a half.
And shows like this are so expensive and they take so much time. Like Mandalorian, it's been like it's been almost, I think
it's because Pedro's so fucking busy.
3 years. Like 2 years.
Yeah, when you said that Mando season 2 was 2020, I was like, no fucking way. I was like, yeah, okay. Time in a pandemic, functions a little differently, I guess.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully we hear soon that when they start filming, and then I'm hoping for maybe like a April of next year, kind of time window. But all right,
so good, Craig Mazin, my man.
That is 6 things. I hate to ask you this, John, but do you have anything are we going to tease anything for next week? Is John going to touch a video game?
I'm not promising anything. No, my son is, baseball was my thing. It is still my thing. And so Little League season starts here soon. I coached my son's T-ball team last year. My wife made me sign up again this year. So we've been taking him to the batting cages, doing things like that. So I'm not gonna promise anything. I still want to go. I want to finish Norco. I got one more chapter.
Gotta do that.
And maybe I'll play Elden Ring. Maybe I'll play it. I don't know. I feel bad for Mark. If Mark, I hope you're still listening to the show, but I want to talk to you about Elden Ring. I just can't get to it, man. I'm trying. So, what about you, man? I know you can at least keep this ship afloat.
Yeah, I do have Persona 5, so I think that is going to be the focus. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that would consume my time. I am excited for these 2 open beta weekends in a row, but they will be after next show. So
yeah, Persona. I know I've said it before. I've wished for the wheel to give this to you, so I'm glad you got to it naturally. But I've watched the 67-hour YouTube cutscene playthrough of this, so I at least know the story, which is good. And I know of the combat. I played 10 hours of it, I think.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. I was deciding whether or not to look at a guide, like a spoiler-free guide, and then I saw the guide for getting the platinum all in one playthrough. What a freaking nightmare!
Oh, dude, Persona games are no joke. If you want to try a single playthrough, you have to. There's so many social link things that you have to, okay, what day is it? Okay, I have to make sure I study this day. And then I got to make sure I hang out with Ryuji today and on tomorrow. It's just like, fuck that.
Yeah, what a nightmare.
Yeah,
so.
I never liked the school side of those games, but it's still very, very special.
Okay, well, I'll have thoughts on that. All right, so the song we're leaving you on today is from Mass Effect 2.
It's from your opening.
Yeah, Suicide Mission.
No, it's not. It's on the end of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, the Suicide
Mission.
Sorry, Suicide Mission's the thing that you build to. It could have played during the opening. I could not tell you off the top of my head.
Sure.
But this is by Jack Wall, who did the entire soundtrack for Mass Effect 2, and Suicide Mission is just one of those epic, pieces that, that you want the game to end on when you're going into that final battle. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So, again, expect next week 2 things in the feed, a bonus episode for all of The Last of Us, HBO's The Last of Us, and then our normal episode. So, thanks for listening. We will see you next week.
Bye, guys. I love you so much.